a lot of people fall into that trap. Well, I've let go of all my negative emotions. I've got rid of all my limiting decisions. I've got aligned values. I've set goals. And it's not happening. Well, you've got to go out and make it happen.
It's the actions. Absolutely. And you're going to get knocked back. You're going to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to be some days where you don't want to get up and go to the gym. There are going to be some days where your muscles are sore and you don't want to go back. And as you said earlier, I loved it. Truly mastering is knowing how to get through the tough times.
With the Connekt Unplugged.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Connekt Unplugged episode number 24. We are back by popular demand with David Shephard, master trainer of NLP and expert in all things Ancient Hawaiian Huna. When we had David on last time, about a month ago, we had over 8,000 views across both channels, and people were absolutely loving what they were hearing from David and wanted more. So we kindly asked David to come back. It's midnight where he is. We thought to bring a little bit more energy. We would wear our Hawaiian shirts for a bit of fun. So Connor, I actually had to twist Connor's arm to get him to bring his Hawaiian shirt along. David was easier to get into his.
That's the closest I've got, mate.
It looks great. It looks great. But yeah, we're back by popular demand. Very excited to have David back here. I was actually on my way to Airlie Beach a few days ago, and I was listening to a webinar that you were doing, David, on the spiritual entrepreneur. And
okay.
I was really fascinated by the conversation we had last time, and something we touched on with sales and how sales is an act of magic. And I thought we'd kick things off today with a quote that I heard you say, and I did miss the author of the quote, but it went something along the lines of entrepreneurship or being in business or in sales is actually a hands-on spiritual act. So I wondered if you could speak to that as we got started today.
Yeah, so the quote actually is from Stuart Wilde, who was one of my gurus in the early 90s, even before I discovered NLP, really, and before I discovered TAD. And I wound up, the story itself about how I wound up spending an afternoon with this guy in the West End of London is a story in of itself. But the quote from him, which is from his book, The Trick to Money is Having Some, is making a lot of money is a hands-on spiritual experience. I think is the actual quote. If that's the one.
That is the one. Yeah, that is the one.
And if you think about this absolute rainforest of energy, which we've got from a spiritual point of view, pouring into our body or available to our body, then money is energy. So you've got that infinite amount of energy that you can tap into. But I think the thing that I love about that quote is, which is how it's different from The Secret. They just go meditate, draw the energy down, the money will appear. In my experience, that doesn't work. I don't know if you've got the Daily Mail where you are in Australia, the source of all knowledge, the source of all truth. I have yet to read an article which says man knocked unconscious by meditating, or knocked unconscious by a bag of gold whilst meditating,
Yes.
So the other thing I quite liked about Stuart was that he said, you've got to get your hands dirty in a way. You've got to work on the physical to draw this energy down from spirit, which I love that idea. It's available to you, and I've been accused that that's a limiting belief.
Which ones is it?
That you've got to work. I always remember I was driving up the M4 when I lived in London to my house I lived on the river just outside of London by a dear friend of mine, and he said, "Well, you just haven't got the law of attraction. You haven't got the law of manifestation." And because he said you're working too hard, you have to spend more time meditating. Meanwhile, I was driving at high speed along the M4 to my Riverside home, and he'd have to sell his car and move in back with his dad. But it was me that had got the problem because I wasn't meditating enough.
Yeah. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think in my experience, because I've heard it many times also, people mistake work with non-enjoyment. So when you do love what you do, the label is work because that's a generalization that everyone knows this is what I do in order to get paid in life. But work, if you love what you do, it's easy to give 100%. It's easy to give a lot of energy. It's easy to take the action that you need to take if you're enjoying what you're doing, and you actually have an intention in your head as to a bigger reason why you do what you do. And I find that people just, I don't want to pigeonhole anyone or make any broad statements that, well, this is in my experience, those who say things like that are not enjoying what they're doing. They position work as that's a thing that I do in life that I don't necessarily have to enjoy, but I do it in order to make the money. So absolutely, I would rather meditate than do something that I don't want to do in order to get money. Absolutely. But when you love what you do and you bring in that manifestation, bang, that's getting the winning lotto numbers and the Powerball. That's when you win.
And I think what we're talking about here, and I wanted to raise this because this is what came up for me when I was listening to your webinar that you did, David, last year. It was about 12 months ago, is this whole idea of spiritual bypass. So it made a lot of sense to me when you were looking at the mechanical side of how the higher conscious mind, the conscious mind, the unconscious mind relate to each other, and how there are certain lines of communication between the conscious and unconscious, and the higher conscious and the unconscious, and the reasons for that, and the different planes of existence, and how often people like to stay in that upper mental plane or even upper emotional plane where they feel blissful, or they're in that conceptual abstract place of awe, however haven't completed or even begun the journey of life, which Dion Fortune talked about. The ascent into matter must be complete before the ascent into spirit can occur.
Yep.
So I thought that quote you shared was it created quite a big impact for me listening to it, because it reaffirmed what I already knew after spending a lot of time in South America meditating on top of Machu Picchu, being there on the winter solstice of 2012, waiting for the perfect moment in time to reach spiritual enlightenment and all those sorts of things. That quote kind of sums up maybe the purpose that we're here, and what the mechanism by which we do bring that spiritual inspiration is down into the physical world, and it has to do with action. It has to do with a hands-on, being a hands-on spiritual act. And it was really fascinating for me when you even brought it down into what plane of existence that occurs in, which is, the between the emotional and the physical plane, or in the physical plane that occurs. So I do find that with this, the secret and a number of other different spiritual paths that people get on, they can often get trapped by that spiritual bypass, where they would much rather feel the feelings of feeling blissed out and feeling good, or in that thought plane. So have you found that as well? Is that something that you've experienced or seen?
Yeah, a lot. As I say, with this very dear friend of mine, and he honestly believed that it was a limiting belief from my behalf, that my limiting belief was that I had to take action. But then I was driving the car. I was driving him to my house. He didn't have a car or a house. And I'm going, okay. And he said, no, you still need to do more clearing work. Whereas, when you speak to the bank, etc., they're not really interested in the amount of clearing work you've done. They're more interested about what's the. I mean, when I say the physical amount of cash you've got in your bank these days, it's not as physical as it used to be. And going back to the thing about work that Conor mentioned, I haven't worked for more than 30 years. In that kind of like idea, going to work and doing something that you hate doing, which is, we can tie this into all kinds of things like values levels or whatever, values level 4, where you do something every day that you hate doing for salvation later. Then to find out that the salvation doesn't actually arrive, whether it's a pension pot or heaven or Vestal virgins or whatever your idea of heaven is. It doesn't arrive. Another dear friend of mine said to me, the only people who have a problem with work-life balance are the people that hate their work.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. We can read, which I think, as you're saying, let's redefine what work means.
I'm sure many people have quoted this or said this, but I've never had someone who's created a lot of success tell me I shouldn't work hard. Don't be productive. Just manifest. Anyone who's created a lot of abundance in their life will always encourage those who are also wanting to create abundance. They will always encourage them in order to keep going. And in my world, generally people who haven't created abundance have been the first ones to say, you don't need that, or you shouldn't do that, or just manifest. And there's no right or wrong. It's just we're sort of just taking a slice and analyzing it a little bit, and seeing what are the ingredients behind it. But it's an interesting concept. I think work has been, in the old adage, was turning up to the factory with your little click card, and you click, and you clock in and clock out, and that was work. And I think the notion of loving what you do was maybe not as accepted by mainstream society as it is now. And now we have things like these little bad boys and cows in Airlie Beach in beautiful Queensland. I'm in Bateman's Bay on the south coast of New South Wales. David, you're near Nottingham Forest. Are you in the middle of there somewhere?
Yeah, I'm in a place called Ravenshead.
Amazing. Sounds very Games of Thrones-ish.
Well, actually, it is very Games of Thrones-ish. I am in the middle of Sherwood Forest,
Oh, nice.
and you know, everything around here is very, very much like that, very Tudorish, very medieval.
Oh, that's good.
That we've now come and, you know, brought it to up to date. So
So the end of our conversation a month ago, David, we enticed you to come down under to Australia, and I thought we'd open this up at the start of the conversation rather than leaving it all the way to the end today, because I think there's a lot of exciting things that we can talk about in relation to this. And that was, we were enticing you to come down to Australia to teach some of the advanced tutor trainings.
Yep.
We had a wonderful turnout to our introduction the other night. We had 140 people register and over 75 show up and stay to the end. You were there in attendance. You've got some exciting news to share with us, and some developments in that arena. So I'd love for everybody to hear it direct from the horse's mouth, as they say. We'd love you to share about what the plans are for October and early November.
Well, the plans are to come and do Huna level 1 in the end of October, and then also to do a Wizard Secret end of October, early November, something like that. So that's a 5-day Huna level 1 physical training. And then a 7-day physical training, the Wizard Secret, tagged around the back of that. We're still working on a venue at the moment, but they will generally be the Gold Coast.
Nice. That's good. We're off to the Gold Coast early October as well. This will be a bit of a destination this year.
Yeah. So that's what we've got locked and loaded, as it were.
So Huna level 1 is the first of 4 advanced Huna trainings. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what you've got is you've got 3 levels of Huna, which are sequential. We've had people contacting us saying, "Can I just go straight into Huna level 3 and whatever?" The answer to that question is no. And so we've got Huna level 1, 2, and 3. Level 1 is 5 days. Level 2 is 7 days. Level 3 is 7 days. And then we've got level 4, which will be launching in 2025, which is why our website is called Huna and Beyond. So the first 3 levels will be purely Huna, and then level 4 will go beyond Huna, because there's other teachings besides Huna. Huna is a great foundation, and I studied lots and lots of stuff before I even found Huna, and then my spiritual home is Huna. But then there's things that are not in Huna, that are elsewhere. So as an example, I've got a friend of mine, Andy, who's probably one of my longest standing friends. I've known him since we were both I went to his 21st birthday party. So I've known him for about 10 years. And he's done Huna. He did the Huna trainings with me. But his passion is Egyptian magic. And that's what he's spent his time researching and living, and again putting into action, not just studying it, not an armchair magician. Which he and I joke about a lot, the idea of these armchair magicians who know a lot of stuff but can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I've talked to Andy already and said, can we do a Huna? Can we do a level 4 Huna and beyond on Egyptian magic? And I'll be sat in the back of the room. I'm not going to be. He's going to be at the front of the room. I'll be at the back because I don't know anywhere near as much about Egyptian magic as Andy does.
Mm.
And so the plan at the moment is, trusting that everything's safe in the world around there, is that we go and do that in Egypt.
Well, that'd be cool.
And the last conversation I had with Andy was that we did it actually on a Nile cruise. So we go and visit the pyramids, but we do the training actually on a boat.
Magic.
So Andy's researching the possibilities of that and the cost of that. And then we've got a very deep occult magic here in London. And I've done that before. I've done trainings here in London. The secret to the occult training of London is look up, because you won't see anything on street level, but if you look above you, you'll see all of the symbology, all those kind of things. And then also I've done another one would be visiting things like Stonehenge, Avesbury, and Glastonbury, which would be level 4. So we've got a whole thing mapped out.
So level 4 is not necessarily the one location. It's a pilgrimage. It's a tour. It's a
yeah. The thing I like around it, and the song that comes, because I love music, the thing that comes into my head all the time is the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour.
I like that.
Where they're all on the put that into YouTube, the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour, and they're all on this bus driving around, and they're going on their magical mystery tour. That's the come back in the room music for Huna level 4, and that just rolls on. It's like a full blown esoteric mystery school where it's a community. You're in that community, and it just goes on and on and on, and you stay in it as long as you want to stay in it, and learn what you want to learn. That's what we've got planned with that one.
Well, that's very exciting indeed. Hogwarts comes. I like what you said about the armchair magician, and one of the, and you'd mentioned the word magic. We may have touched it on the first podcast, but in your articulation, how would you best, what is magic for the listeners? How could we, describe magic? Because many people may think magic is, the traditional sense where we see on TV and cartoons, where you make a car disappear, or you turn someone into a frog. I would imagine when you talk magic, we're not necessarily talking about that magic. Maybe we are, but how would an everyday person who owns a business use magic in their life?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and good differentiation. Since I've been since I was a kid, I've always been interested in magic, card magic, all of those kind of things. And then I discovered there was another kind of magic. So I think the magic that we're talking about with Huna, the Wizard's Secret, is how do you go about bringing your thoughts into reality? So you've got, I know he's got a bit of a bad rap, with Aleister Crowley and Kallum, you mentioned it last time we talked, but I still like his definition of magic, which was the ability to create change in external situations, circumstances, and people by creating willful change inside of yourself. And that's really what I'm talking about with magic, whether that's about how you do it in your business, how you do it in your relationships, how you do it in your family, how you do it in your everyday life, is how do you get to the point where you can go, and it is really perception is projection from Carl Jung, which is you're looking out at your external world, and if there's things in your external world that you don't that isn't the way you want it, then rather than going what most people do, well, that's the world, that's just the way it is, turning inside and going, okay, what do I need to change inside of me to change my external reality and change your projection? And you'll know you've successfully done that when your perception of the external reality changes. We mentioned this last time. Running your own business is probably one of the most accelerated forms of learning about magic. And then the real edge of that in business is sales. I say to people, if you don't believe that you're worth $1 million, nobody's ever going to pay you $1 million. It comes from, it's an inside out process.
Yeah.
And I think on the last one, I mentioned the story that Tad told me about the guy who sold solid gold golf putters. Who, one day just had his head on the desk for half a day. And afterwards, Tad said, and then he was hitting the phones, cold calling, and Tad said to him at the end of the day, what was going on? I've never seen you do that before. And the guy said, well, when I arrived, I couldn't for the life of me understand why anybody would want a solid golf putter. So there's no point picking up the phone. And that, he probably didn't call that magic, but that is magic. He just went, if I can't get it inside of me, I'm never going to get it outside of me. And, I think we all go through that in business. No matter how long we've been in business, we go through that. I was speaking to one of my clients just the other day, and one of my mentoring clients, and he's hugely successful in the grand scheme of things, and moved from a role of being the CEO of a very 9-figure international business to being now the CEO of a 9-figure international business. But the difference is that it's a public listed business rather than a privately owned business. And that's brought up a lot of stuff for him. So, a lot of people will go, well, you've already made it. What are you talking about? Why have you got all this stuff coming up? But he has.
Yeah.
because he's never done it before, and it's brought up new stuff. He's now got public exposure, if you like, rather than private exposure, even though it's still 9 figures.
It was Alistair Crowley who also said that we're all doing magic, and some of us may choose to be aware of that or not. But if we know that we're all doing it, we better be doing it well. And to your definition, that makes a lot of sense, because we're all managing our perceptions all the time, and depending on those perceptions and the way that we project them back out, we're going to be altering our experience. So if that's something that's automatically happening for us as we go through this human experience and this reality, then paying attention to the act of creation through our perceptions is likely to be one that we would like to exercise and to develop. I noticed that after the webinar we did the other night, there was a lot of people giving me a lot of feedback that just in that simple exercise that we did using Ho'oponopono to change the way that we perceived past experiences and the relationships we have with people in the past as well, completely shifted their reality in less than 45 minutes. So maybe you could talk a little bit more about the advanced levels of Huna for the people that haven't attended yet. I know for me, even after doing some of the advanced esoteric trainings that I've done and thinking that I knew Huna, going back and even doing the intro just blew my mind. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people in our network that have done those advanced esoteric trainings and are now looking at Huna and thinking, is this the same as what I've learned? Is it more? My experience was that it was a hell of a lot more. And then how does that then aid us in training our minds to manage our perceptions and creating the reality that we want?
So yeah, going back to the first bit you said there in that question, is that Alistair Crowley said every willful act is a magical act. So I was asked by a financial institution to write my signature, what they now call a wet signature. So they wanted me to actually write with a pen on a piece of paper and then scan it and then send it off to them. I don't know what difference that makes. But Alistair Crowley said that if you take out a pen with a piece of paper, and you write something, then you have changed the external world. So he said, every act is a magical act. So then, you were saying about with Ho'oponopono, a very, very powerful process for changing your relationship with other people and your perceptions of other people. Because the way that works, and I think you mentioned it kind of on the on that webinar, which was we carry around inside of us a part of us which is everybody we've ever met, everybody we've ever known. And that's the slide in the projector. So Ho'oponopono is a great process for changing that slide inside of us so that we project out on onto people around us something different. And we know we've done that successfully when our perception is those people outside of us change. Recently I've come across people saying Ho'oponopono is Huna, or Huna is Ho'oponopono.
Yeah.
As if like Huna's just that.
They've reached completion after Ho'oponopono.
I've done a Ho'oponopono now, I've done a Huna,
I had people saying, I've done Ho'oponopono before. I said, do you want to come to the Huna webinar? They go, I've done Ho'oponopono before. I was like,
yes. So I think we need to, we kind of like need to put that one right.
And they generally think it's the 4 forgiveness mantras that people say.
which is the Ho'oponopono prayer,
Prayer, exactly.
which isn't Huna,
Yeah, right.
technically speaking. I can talk a little bit about the origins of that and how that came about. The one that you did, because I was there the other night, was the Huna version of Ho'oponopono.
And even that was shortened compared to the longer one that we do in the training, because there just isn't enough time to do it in a 45-minute webinar.
Yeah, no, I mean the one that I do on Huna level 1, it takes me 90 minutes to set that up, just to teach the basic concepts behind it,
Right.
and then 90 minutes to actually take people through the process. So yeah, you had a truncated version. It was great, by the way. I loved it, and I actually did it because normally I'm sitting in the front of the room.
You're the guide.
Yeah, I sat there. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna completely check out. But there's so much more to Huna than just Ho'oponopono. There's the whole belief system. There's a whole philosophy. Even just starting out with the fact we've got 3 minds: conscious mind, unconscious mind, higher self, then 4 or 7 bodies, and how those bodies evolve and how that relates to astrology and all of those kind of things. That takes at least like half a day. And then we can really get motoring with things. So with Huna level 1, you'd learn techniques called O'oku, which is how you work with your higher self to be able to heal up negative emotions, limiting beliefs, all of those things. When I say negative emotions, like releasing from your unconscious mind things like anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt. Getting rid of limiting beliefs like I'm not good enough, or I'm wrong, or I can't make the kind of money I want. Then also working with the elements of spirit, fire, air, water, and earth, and how to actually work with those not only inside of you, which is an important piece, I think, but also outside of you. Be able to change your external reality using the elements and working with other people around healing with the elements. One of my still go-to processes is in Huna level 1, which is the Keawe process, or what used to be called the EO process, which is how to heal up dichotomies in your life. Everything's created in a dichotomy. There's a dichotomy at this point in time, which is like me and you. I've got a dichotomy with me and my computer, me and my laptop, me and my microphone, me and everybody else in the world. Everything's
not me. Me and they're not me.
Yeah, everything is created as dichotomy. The question is, are the dichotomies working for you or not? And the Keawe process, or we used to call the EO process, enables you to heal up those dichotomies. And we teach that at Huna level 1. That's now my go-to process when I work with clients rather than visual squash path integration. Because 1 is it's significantly quicker. 2 is you can do it online. And 3 is the client can do it for themselves afterwards. And it is really, really quick. And, just to give you an idea about how powerful this thing is, I did a demonstration on a Huna level 1, where I teach it, and I always do a demonstration, and I taught it. Then we got a break, and this lady comes running up to me saying, "You're going to do a demonstration after the break. Will you do it with my husband?" And I said, "Well, I never do a demonstration with anybody that's been volunteered by somebody else. You know, this guy's from trainer of NLP. If he volunteers and I believe he'll be a good demonstration, then I'll do it." So, you know, after the break, I said, "Okay, I'm going to do a demo." His hands up, rocket speed. And I said, "So what do you want to work on?" And he said, "Well, I'm a binge drinker. And I've been in rehab twice. And my wife said, if I don't get it dealt with, she's going to leave me." And his wife was sitting next to him, you know. I thought, that was in front of 50 people. I thought, that really takes a lot of courage to do that. So I picked him as my demonstration subject. And it took like 5 minutes, whatever. I've known him now for probably 10 years. And he hasn't had a drink since. He said, "I could do, but I just don't want to." And that was, you know, and we talk about proper rehab here, that hadn't enabled them to get the result, and then the Chiavo process enabled them to get the result. But that's just one of the processes that we teach at Huna level 1, let alone what we go into at the higher levels. Huna level 2, the big watershed movement, I know you both gone through this, is the Avaiku initiation. You know, after going through the Avaiku initiation, my world was never the same again. You know, the Avaiku would be loosely translated to angels or healing guides that can actually do things for you. Like now, you can start to do things like Ho'oponopono. You can start to do ku'u. You can start to do all those kind of things with your clients. And you know, Ho'oku'u will do all the things that you can do with timeline therapy, but just significantly quicker. So, you know, there's a whole other kind of like magical world out there when you start getting into Huna, whether it be 1, 2, or all 3. I probably rumbled on a little bit long there, but that's a kind of like a brief synopsis, but that's a very top level synopsis of what we get into on those trainings.
I was waiting for Connor to. It looked like you were talking then, but I think you're on. Oh no, you're not on mute. I think it's important to sort of lay that out a bit. So I'm glad you did talk about it in length then, because it is a misconception that I run into all the time, which is, you know, thinking that the body of knowledge of Huna is sort of wrapped around this idea of Ho'oponopono, and it's so much broader and vaster than that. I also wanted to sort of touch on, because you mentioned at the start that there's Huna level 1 that you're teaching on the Gold Coast, but also the Wizard's Secret. And the Wizard's Secret, I think, is something that there's a lot of people that we know who would like to do that, because they wanted to go down the path of doing some of the esoteric trainings that I did under a different name. However, I think that there is a similarity between the Wizard's Secret and the trainings that I attended with Tad, and the skills that you get in that level of training is very, very powerful as well. And that's the one where we go into the tarot and into astrology and even into numerology.
Yep.
So I thought it might also be good to share that, because I know it's typically only run with a very, very small amount of people. Whilst, with Huna, you might have the larger classes. With this class, I believe you stick to the number 7, I believe, with the amount of people that you allow into that. So it might be worthwhile touching on that, because I think there was a lot of people that wanted to do those trainings with Tad, and unfortunately now, after his passing, then they're unable to do it with Tad. But you learned it, and you've been practicing it with him for 35 years. So I think it would be great for you to touch on that as well, which is the second training that you're going to be running while you're on the Gold Coast.
Yes. So yeah, it is limited to 7 people. The original idea was it was going to be 11 people, because 11 is also a magical number. I mean, 7 is the basic magical number. But I got up to working with 7 people, and I went, I can't work with more than 7 people and get the kind of result that I want, because of the amount of one-to-one time that I spend with people. So the Wizard's Secret, I wouldn't necessarily describe it as being a training. I would describe it as being an experience, where you basically check in. You tell me where you want to be at the end of the week, because it's seven people, 7 days. And I go, and we'll get you there, and we'll throw everything at it that we've got. There's a saying in the UK, I don't know if you have it in Australia, where we go, okay, we're going to throw everything and the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
At at this particular situation, which we do. So we will do NLP, we'll do hypnosis, we'll do timeline therapy, we will do Huna, and lots of other things. But also it's a for of a better word, really, initiation into the major arcana of the tarot. So a lot of people have been taught, therefore they have a misconception that tarot is about fortune telling, which was not the original intention of the tarot at all. So we do a full-on initiation into the major arcana of the tarot rather than the minor arcana of the tarot, which is 22 major arcana. And we light up those archetypes inside of the person's neurology. Then we bring in numerology, as Kallum just mentioned. So I will do a one-to-one numerological reading with everybody. People have a lot of personal work, a lot of tasking to do, and the way we do that, I don't teach on any other training outside of the Wizard's Secret. And it really is, if we're going to sum up the whole thing, it's an advanced training in changing your projection and how you're creating your world the way that it is at the moment, from a archetypal point of view, from a numerological point of view. Then we tie it into an astrological point of view. So everybody gets a natal chart, which is a personal one that they have, and then I show people how to plug the tarot into their natal chart, so that if they've got a problem or a challenge with the relationship with their mother, for instance, they can work out what tarot archetypes they're projecting onto their mother, which then, you see, here was the thing for me. I got into astrology, and astrology didn't really work for me because I didn't know the time of my birth. I'm adopted. I, I don't know my biological mum or dad. I got nobody to go and check with about the time of my birth. And in my experience, mums are not a great witness for what time you're born because there's normally a lot going on for them. And so astrology didn't work for me. Then I did discover the time of my birth. And I went to see an astrologer, and the astrologer said to me, I'd stay single if I was you in this lifetime. And I kind of went, but I don't want to. And this astrologer said, well, you can't change the time of your birth, can you? So I'd spent literally tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars getting myself at cause to find that now I was at the effect of the time of my birth. So, which is when I went on this quest to, because traditionally how it's taught, astrology, numerology is a very static system. It's like, these are the cards you were dealt with. Make the most of it. Whereas I'm going like, well, you know, I want to be able to work with this system in a dynamic way. So to be able to do that, you need to integrate astrology, major arcana of the tarot, and numerology, and a number of other things, so that then you can go, okay, how do I use this integrated system to be able to make changes in my external reality? How can I use this integrated system to sort out the challenges I've got with money? How can I use this integrated system to sort out the challenges I've got with my relationship, my family, you know, the kind of like the big challenges that a lot of people experience, and being able to work on with those things on a very esoteric and magical level. And you know, I've got one particular example of something I teach, which on that training, which a lot of people go, okay, David, I've done practitioner, master practitioner, I've done Huna with you. You blew my mind. Now you've gone too far. The top of my head has now come off. This is just, well, their usual words, because they're around me, they'll go, this is just fucking bollocks. Excuse my French. And I said, well, let's play, let's do a demo. And so this lady said, okay, I'm single, and I don't want to be single. I want to be in a relationship. I've had lots of relationships. It's not worked out. So I want to work on that. And the particular process that I teach is, you know, using other people in your world as the barometers to work out what's going on. And she was grumpy with me. I could tell this, you know, because I'm quite good at sensory acuity. And I said, what would you like to use as a barometer for working out what you need to do about this? And she just goes, my car. Because she's grumpy with me, right? So I said, okay. So I did the process, and I said, so what's your car's house like? And she goes, what are you talking about? I said, what's your car's house or home like? She said, do you mean the garage? the garage, I guess we won't call it in America. I said, if that's what your perception of your car's house is, yeah. And she said, well, it doesn't have one. I went, okay. So have you got the relationship between those two things? You don't have a relationship, and your car doesn't have a house. And she's even more grumpy with me now. And she said, so you telling me that if I sort out the garage so I can get the car in the garage, I'll get a relationship? And I'm like, yep. So this was the last day of the Wizard's Secret. You know, she went off very, very still grumpy with me. She phoned me up about not the next week, but the week afterwards. And I hope you guys are okay with my language, because, you know, but this is actually what she said to me.
If it's for the story.
If it's for the story, okay. This is in quotes. I would never use this kind of language myself. I said, hi, how you doing? She goes, you fucking bastard. And I went, oh, that's very nice. I love you too. She said, I was pissed off with you. I said, I know. I could tell that, you know. And she said, well, last weekend, I decided that I would sort out the garage. And said, so I got all the things out of the garage onto the drive, going, this is what I'm going to keep, this is what I'm going to throw away, so I can get my car into the garage. There's some more symbology in this, I've just realized myself. She said, and this guy was walking past and struck up a conversation with me. And I went, right. She said, I've never seen him before, but he lives just around the corner. I went, right. And he asked me out on a date. I went, cool. That's good then. They are now married, and they've been married for, she did Wizard's Secret with me about 15 years ago.
Awesome.
So there's the kind of like magical things that we're talking about that, you know, and I think, I can't remember if we talked about it last time, but for me, I love Arthur C. Clarke's definition of magic. Magic is any advanced technology that most people can't understand. I love that definition. And I go like, you know, I love the fact she got the result. She still absolutely loves being married to this guy. And from the stuff we teach on The Wizard's Secret, the cause of that was her clearing out our garage, which really is true feng shui in action.
I mean, that concept, for someone who's just tuned in now, would, like, that's crazy talk.
It's crazy. It's crazy talk for me now, and I've been doing it for 30 years.
But it's so true. How many times do things like that happen? It's the whole, if you don't hear a tree fall in the woods, does it fall type of question. Where do thoughts go when they're no longer thoughts? But time and time again, at a young age, I would think things would happen, sequences of events would happen in my life, and I would always think, if I hadn't have done A, would have B happened. And it happens so often, and so many times it happens, in fact, that people say, I wouldn't be here if I didn't do this thing I normally don't do in my life. Those occurrences happen. So now it's almost like learning the guide on how to utilize that for creation. Well, is creation of things for benefit?
With conscious volition.
Conscious volition.
Yeah. We know that it's happening all the time, but how can we do it with conscious volition? I remember, like, to follow the same thread that we're on right now, and Connor, you know this one because you probably remember the effectiveness checklist that we used to hand out in the master practitioner training. But I used to get clients who would say things like, I am not making money in my business, or I haven't been paid certain invoices that I've put out in my business. And that would just go boom, alarm bells in my head. I would say, go back, check your emails, check everything, and find all of the unpaid bills that you have in your life and go and pay them now. And I had one guy go out and pay all of his unpaid. He had a couple of parking fines. He had electrical bill that he had let go over a couple of weeks, and he paid all of those things. And he had a client that was sitting on the fence for a very long time, go in and pay him $3,500 for a breakthrough session. And he was blown away, just like that lady that you just talked about with the garage. So it's like this. It's like, for me, it's like you either think that it's crazy and go on being ignorant to it, or you play the game of magic and see what happens. Hey guys, Kallum and Conor here from Connekt Coaching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Unplugged podcast. We're jumping in to let you know about something really exciting, the Forever Client Matrix.
Absolutely. What we love doing is lighting people up and helping them realize that their future is bright, and most importantly, making a difference in this world. So we are very excited to be able to share this with you.
If you want to turn every prospect into a forever client, then please click on the link below in the description and get instant access now to your preview of the Forever Client Matrix.
Enjoy.
And see if you can get really good at it, and see if you can start to do a conscious volition. I know that for Conor and I, whenever we're seeing certain patterns happen that we are affecting our business in a way that we don't want, we're always working on perceptions and projections and identifying where we can make the shifts in our personal life in order to make the shift, inside of us, to have an outside change as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's really what the wizard's secret is about. Is about having astrology and the major arcana of the tarot become a dynamic tool to be able to change your projections and therefore your perception on the world.
Now, if I could, because it's always kind of stuck with me, this whole idea that Dion Fortune talks about. And I've mentioned it on this podcast, I mentioned it on the one before, and that's the journey of life and the journey of mastery. The journey of life being coming from spirit down into matter, and having that be complete before you can start the journey back to spirit from matter. So the journey of mastery. How would one know, and this might be just a big curveball for you, David, but I hope you can help me out with this. How would one know that one has essentially completed the journey of life into matter enough that they can begin that ascent into spirit and complete the mastery of life, the journey of mastery?
So if you were to go and see a Taoist master and ask for a Taoist master to take you on, if you like, as their mentee, they would check a number of things out. Firstly, to check out how old you are, that you are older than 42, that you had your relationship sorted, that you had your family sorted, that you were physically healthy and fit, and that you were independently financially wealthy. And then they would take you on, because they say that you've come into the physical, you've done the lesson of mastery. Now, the rest of your life, everything else is sorted, everything's looked after. You've got, you don't have to worry about making money. You don't have to You know, you've got a partner to look after you. You've got a family to look after you. Everything's sorted, so you can put 100% of your attention on your spiritual development. So out of all of those, I've got a few sorted. Not all of them. So that's really the litmus test for whether you've fully came in fully as a spiritual being, as an abundant, infinite spiritual being. Have you brought that abundant, infinite spirituality down through all the 7 levels into the physical?
That's a very simple definition, and it makes a lot of sense, because the pursuit of that spiritual mastery definitely takes a lot of focus and to minimize the distractions. And if you're battling to fill your bank account, or you're being pulled away in certain directions because of relationship issues or family, I can see how people would be unable to pursue those things. That would make a lot of sense.
But it kind of like comes full circle back round to, you know, the Stuart Wilde thing about making a lot of money is a hands-on spiritual experience. Is that in the world today, if you want to develop, I'm not saying this is the only way of doing it, but if you want to develop spiritually, it's going to cost you money. I always remember, you know, my friend Matt James, Tad's son. He wanted to go do Huna, but Tad had said to him, "Well, you got to pay for it. You got to pay for the hotel. You got to pay for the training." Even though, you know, Tad was his dad, and Matt said, "Well, I haven't got the money." And Tad said, "Well, you can't do it then." And Matt was really upset about this, so he went to Uncle George, and Matt was going like, "Well, you know, this is my spiritual development. You know, I can't do it because I haven't got any money," etc., etc. Still in his stuff about it. And Uncle just said, "Well, go and manifest money then, so you can do it." And he did. The 6 months later. But I think what I find a lot of people have is a conflict between money and spirituality. In that, you know, if you're going to be spiritual, you can't make a lot of money. And if you're making a lot of money, you can't be spiritual. And that just, if you understand the principles of Huna and the lesson of mastery and the lesson of life, that basically is values level 4 religious claptrap. There's a great book called The Millionaire Mindset. I'd have to have a search for it as far as it's Stanley somebody or other. And it was like the 7 things that self-made millionaires said were important in them becoming self-made millionaires.
Thomas J. Stanley.
Sorry?
Thomas J. Stanley.
Yes, that's it. That's him. And all of them said having some kind of spiritual belief, whether that was what we would call religion or a belief in something that was bigger than them, that they could tap into. And they put it that down to the importance of that was it enabled them to get through the tough times.
Yeah.
Because, you know, whoever we are, no matter what we do, there's tough times. You know, that is really the lesson of mastery, is dealing with the tough times. And so today, you know, you want to learn Huna. I traveled so many times to the other side of the planet to learn Huna. And it cost a lot of money that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And it was so important to me that, you know, I created the money. Not by meditating on it, by going out there and doing some hands-on stuff, selling. Really? Oh boy.
Connor's
You know,
eyes light up when he hears that word.
I just enjoy it.
but you know, it is a little, no, for me, when I was a kid, selling, being a salesperson was a dirty word. Because my mum asked me what I wanted for Christmas one year, and I said I wanted a trouser press, you know, one of those Corby trouser presses. And she said, "What do you want one of those for?" And I said, "So my trousers have got nice creases in them." And she said, "But only traveling salespeople use those. But why would you want one of those? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
why would you want to be a traveling salesperson?" And now, you know, here's another funny one. When I worked at Reuters, I was offered a job, and this was in the late 80s. It was £100,000 basic, plus commission, plus expense account, plus a BMW M3.
Nice.
I turned it down. Do you know why I turned it down?
Fellas.
Because it was a sales job. So what I did instead was I set up my own business.
Yeah. Not realizing that you'd be in sales on day one.
How do you think my first business went? I thought the business would just roll in, you know. So now, Connor, I'm with you. I love selling. And you know, well, here's the other thing from Studio Wild, and the trick to money is having something. The only reason for being in business is counting the money. That upsets a lot of people. But no matter what you do in your business, if there's no money to count, you don't have a business.
Right.
And if you don't have any money to count in your business, there's only one reason for that. It's because you're not selling.
We try to hit this point home every single day of the week with our clients, because a lot of them have gone through the trainings that we have and often think that that's enough to get the certificate, to be a great coach, to be a great therapist, counselor, trainer. And in fact, some of the best coaches and trainers I know aren't even able to do that because they're not making money, because they don't want to do sales. And
there are people that are not very good coaches,
yes,
not very good trainers,
yes,
that are making a lot of money because they can market and sell. And, you know, I was doing a training on how to use NLP, hypnosis, Tomlin therapy, and Huna for physical health and well-being. And there was this lady there, her name is Rebecca. And Rebecca had done every single training that I got. To keep Rebecca as a client, I had to invent new trainings because she'd done everything. And I could see she'd had this major light bulb moment. And I said to her, wow, Rebecca, that was an aha moment. She was, bear in mind, this is somebody who's a trainer of NLP, Tomlin therapy, and hypnosis, right? I said, well, you know, you're a trainer of NLP, Tomlin therapy, and hypnosis. If it was a major aha moment for you, I'm sure it would be a major aha moment for everybody else in the room. Would you mind sharing it? And she said, yeah. She said, I thought taking action was releasing negative emotions, aligning your values, getting rid of limiting decisions, and setting goals. She said, I've just realized that if I want the body I want, I've got to change what I eat and go to the gym. And I just went, no shit, Sherlock. Thanks for being such a great advert for being a trainer of NLP. But, you know, a lot of people fall into that trap. Well, I've let go of all my negative emotions. I've got rid of all my limiting decisions. I've got aligned values. I've set goals. And it's not happening. Well, you've got to go out and make it happen.
It's the actions. Absolutely. And you're going to get knocked back. You're going to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to be some days where you don't want to get up and go to the gym. There are going to be some days where your muscles are sore and you don't want to go back. And as you said earlier, I loved it. Truly mastering is knowing how to get through the tough times. And the paradox is Rebecca within this metaphor Becca would have had that body had she had already had those lessons. Or the fitness level, whatever it was. And when Cal and I worked, the first when we started Connekt coaching, we doubled down on the fact that unless you're Coke, the guy who created Coke, at the time there were many other cola options on the market. Why are we now those that drink Coke? Why are those who drinking Coke drink Coke and not ABC Cola? Is because he was able to sell it more than any other cola. Right now, it's one of the most well-known brands in the world. So the top of the Coke totem pole, whoever that person is, doesn't necessarily have to be the best salesperson because they have a global brand, but everything is sales, marketing sales, the entire operation is sales. In order for any small and medium-sized business and large, but that's another, there's probably a few more layers in that, sales has to be the number one skill that you learn first and master, because no one is going to use your product or service unless you know how to articulate it in a way that lights up the person who you're communicating with to change their mind, to hold on to their money, to spend or invest their money with you. And so many people shy. It's like, imagine there was this one exercise in the gym that if you nail this one exercise, it will make every single exercise that you do at the gym 50% easier, 50% more effective, and you'll get your results 50% faster. And all you have to do is master this one exercise in the gym. So many people shy away from learning how to master that one exercise because it's hard and it gets them too far out of the comfort zone. And Cal and I spend so much time training people and rewiring their mind to be okay and giving them the skills.
That's the thing. Rewiring sales is pure perceptions projection.
Yes.
So if you're not sorted inside of yourself, no matter how many sales skills you bolt on top, it's not going to work. You know, I was doing a trainer's training with Tad out in Costa Mesa, and I was doing selling yourself as a trainer and about money. And I'm going, calibrating the group, it's about 100 people there. I'm going, you're not getting this. So I said, look, if somebody that you knew really well, somebody you really trusted, came to you and said, I need $10,000 by the end of the day in cash. For whatever reason, I can't go the usual routes. So if you can get me $10,000 by the end of the day in cash, I'll give you my Bentley GT convertible. Yeah. Which you can either just, you know, have as your own car, drive it around, or you can take it down to the dealership and they'll give you $120,000 for it. Whatever. This was those days' prices. Those prices don't probably, yeah. How many people would do everything you could get to get $10,000 by the end of the day?
Of course. Yeah.
And nobody put their hand up. And I was so stunned. And I said, what on earth would stop you? And the guy in the front row says, I don't like Bentleys. And I go, okay, $10,000 in, $120,000 out in a day, and you didn't go for it because you don't like Bentleys. I think you missed the point.
Missed the point, yeah, for sure.
So, you know, a big thing, I think, is there's no difference between spiritual energy and what we call money. It's just, you know, being a clear channel to draw that down. And that does.
Sorry, buddy. I was going to say, just to talk about that clear channel, there's a Hawaiian Huna saying of first Noah, then Noah. Is that correct? To clear everything out, then bring down the energy to take the action. Yeah. So yes, you do need to do all those things. You do need to align your values. You do need to clear out your negative emotions. You need to resolve any internal conflicts and set goals. But then you need to bring down the newfound energy that's now able to be cultivated in the body and in your neurology to then take action in an aligned way, in a congruent way, in a certain way, with your clarity. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Rebecca was right. You know, it's important to get rid of the negative emotions around having the body of your dreams. Because a lot of people go like, well, if I got the body of my dreams, that might cause other problems, right? It's not really going to work long term if you've got values conflicts. For instance, if it's important for you to get the body of your dreams because I don't want to be fat, as an example. I'm sorry to use the F word, but fuck it. And also, if you've got limiting beliefs about, you know, I can't have the body of my dreams, etc. So you've got to get all that sorted out. And then using this analogy, which I think is a good analogy, you then do have to change what you put into your body, and then working your body. I've been told that's a limiting belief, and that you can have the body of your dreams just by meditating on it, normally by a fat person. But there we go.
So it's rather like you're an engine. Your engine's running, but doing the spiritual world cleans up every single piston so the engine runs much more effectively. So you're getting more out of yourself. You may be a car you're running. In fact, I used when I spoke about the training that Cal was referring to, we're vehicles. We're vehicles. We have four wheels. We're going along, and we're going on the speed at which we go along by doing the spiritual work, it is like putting jet rockets on the back. So you've got the vehicle in motion. You'll just be able to get to what you want in your destination a hell of a lot quicker. Hell of a lot quicker.
Yep. And you got to make sure the car's switched on and you've got your foot on the accelerator.
Yes. Yes.
And you're pointing it in the right direction.
Yeah, there's petrol in the tank. Yes.
And there's petrol in the tank. And, coming back to Kallum's point about Noah, then NoHo, a lot of people go, right, I just want more energy.
Yeah.
But if you haven't done the Noah, if you haven't done the cleansing before, then you'll just become significantly more effective of creating what you don't want more quickly.
Yeah.
And I've seen that happen so many times over the last 30 or so years, where people just went like, no, I'm just going to do this to get more energy. You need more energy. You need more energy. Which is, I think the important thing is, NLP teaches you how to control your mind. Timeline therapy teaches you how to get emotional freedom, release negative emotions, etc. Hypnosis teaches you how to get in touch with your unconscious mind, which is the route to your higher self or your higher conscious mind. Huna then integrates all of that and enables you to bring in the energy. If you really want to step it up, that's where the Wizard's Secret fits in.
Incredible.
So it's a complete integrated system.
So how many days is it?
Huna level 1 is 5 days, 10 till 8. And then the Wizard's Secret is 7 days, 1 till 8.
1 till 8. Nice.
And they've got homework.
They've got homework. All right. I remember doing the homework. There's a lot of homework involved.
Yeah. And the
people
who get the biggest results are the people that, there's some people go, okay, I've got the mornings off. And then there's other people who spend the mornings doing the homework.
Yeah.
And the people who get the biggest results are the people who do the homework. Strange that.
Taking action, in other words.
Yeah, quite.
I know that you've got a workshop coming up as well, a webinar coming up, and I'm interested in the topic of the workshop. It's around the shadow. For the uninitiated, can you talk a little bit about this? Because this is a topic that I'm completely fascinated by. It's very paradoxical as you dive deeper into it. And yeah, I'd love to know how that all fits in. And for me, it sort of stems again from that body of work of Carl Jung, his understanding of the self and the layers by which we go through in the unconscious mind when we start to do the work in the unconscious mind. And it seems that as we dive into the world of the emotions and memory, and we dive into the world of perceptions and projections and all of those meta decisions that we make, we seem to bump up against something quite astounding, quite I guess for some it can be quite overwhelming, and that's the idea of the shadow. But it seems like a necessary thing that we need to face or integrate or be aware of in order to expand our level of awareness and consciousness. So what is it, and can you describe the mechanism by which we can utilize this understanding to grow and evolve as well?
Yeah. So Carl Jung called it the shadow. And a lot of people go like, oh, shadow, evil, dirty, nasty. Which is, I mean, he called it the shadow. A lot of people go like, shadow, that means it's dark. But he called it the shadow because you can't see your own shadow. You know, if you're facing the light, your shadow's behind you. So it's the you that you're not consciously aware of. It's the you that you don't think you are. This is something we touch on in the Wizard Secret too, because from an astrological point of view, there's 12 houses in astrology, and your shadow is in the 7th house. So who's in your 7th house? Your partner in life is in your 7th house. So basically, Carl Jung said you marry your unconscious mind.
Project out on all your unwanted, unresolved stuff.
And, you know, he also said, you know, the big mistake that most people make is they believe the purpose of a relationship is to get to know the other person. Since he said that's patently impossible in the first place, the purpose of a relationship is to get to know yourself.
Yeah.
So, again, it's pure perceptions, projection stuff. The majority of people point their finger out at their partner and go, "Is this person's fault? They're wrong, whatever," but they've forgotten the 3 pointing back at them. So I always jokingly say, you know, in my relationship, when when she says this is all your fault, I just go, I know. It ends every argument very quickly. I'm going to go away and work on it. So shadow work is, you know, the other thing that Carl Jung said, I haven't got the quote totally perfect in my mind at this time of night, but
Yes,
he basically,
appreciate that.
he basically says, whilst it remains unconscious, it will always appear as an external challenge in your life until you make it conscious. As in
the
you,
unconscious conscious that will rule your life and your poor fate.
yeah, that's it. Yes, you've got it. You've got it. You've got it better than I have. So yes, you'll call it fate. So the shadow work is really about bringing the deeply unconscious into the conscious. And then when you've got techniques like NLP, therapy, hypnosis, Huna, resolving that, and then it will cease to be fate in your life. It is something that obviously we go into, and it is a big thing that comes up on the Wizard Secret. With the whole relationship between, because of the shadow relationship, there is a direct relationship between a person's money needs and resources and their partner's sex life. And from an astrological,
and vice versa, for them.
and vice versa. Yeah. Which a lot of people have problems getting their head around. But from a shadow work and from astrology side of things, there's no way around it, really.
So in doing shadow work, it can be confronting for people because they are faced with things they are adamant are not them, correct?
Yep.
So how does one kind of, because I remember Dad always saying to me that, you know, when things you're experiencing challenges or you're experiencing things not the way you want it, it's because it's unconscious. So when we project unconsciously, we will have challenges and we'll have things that we need to overcome, but when we project consciously, things seem to go smoothly. So why do you think it is? Because it does seem like a bit of a conundrum that people find themselves in when they first look at their shadow from the perspective of, is that really me? Or how can I come to recognize that? Or how can I come to find resolution in that? Because it does seem like a bit of a big dry pill to swallow.
Big leap.
Yeah, even for me when I try to get my head around.
Yeah, I mean, it is a big leap, and it's also, it's not what we're taught by our educational system. It's not the generally held belief of most people, vast majority of people, really. I think that the big thing for me, and I've done NLP, I've done hypnosis, I've done tomotherapy, I've done Huna, I've done Wizard Secret, I've done tarot, I've done the whole thing. And I can't really point down when it happened, but I just got to the point where I went, this is all me. I say to people on trainings, I say, how many of you had a dream that was so vivid that you didn't realize it was a dream until you woke up? And of course, everybody puts their hand up. And I said, so you have no empirical evidence that you can offer me to prove that in a moment you might not wake up and discover you haven't come to the training yet. The only way that you'd know that you hadn't come to the training yet is, if it was a dream training, then the dream trainer would be at the front of the room talking all kinds of weird shit. That's the only way that you'd know that this was a dream. Because the mechanism by which we create our dreams and our waking reality, whatever that is the same. And I think that's what I guess we're like, oh, fuck, this is all me. And there's only one person who can do anything about it. Which is obviously me. And then, what NLP, tomotherapy, hypnosis, and Huna and Wizard Secret give you is the toolbox, the toolkit to change that. And you got to have that dawning realization when you go, this has not got anything to do with anybody else. This is all me. My business is me. My relationship is me. Might not be a comfortable realization, but when you have it, then now you're on the core side of the equation and you can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having the tools of NLP, tomotherapy, hypnosis, and Huna and Wizard Secret, shadow work makes it easier.
Yeah. Well,
but you've still got to go, this isn't them.
you still got to walk through the fire.
This is me. And it will only change when I do my inner work. And some people choose to do their inner work and some people don't. But then,
and those people call it fate.
Yeah. Or they go, oh, not again. I can't believe this has happened to me again.
What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
That cracks me up.
And that's how all this stuff fits together. And, you know, in answer to your question, I haven't got my tarot cards at hand. Since I moved into my new house, I can't find anything at the moment. But it's really the hanged man, inverting your thinking to the rest of the world. Jacob Behaim, who's an esoteric writer in the 17th century, said, if you want to have success in this world, look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. Because if people are actually honest, they're not actually living the life of their dreams. So the last thing you'd want to do is the same as them. Do the opposite, which is really what we're talking about with everything that we've been talking about for this podcast, is doing the opposite to both in mind, body, action, to everybody else that you come across.
I think even incorporating that spiritual element of a higher conscious mind into the way that you approach business is walking in the opposite direction to everybody else, because there doesn't seem to be much talk about it out there, at least openly. I know that a lot of successful business people and directors and those sorts of things do it in private, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of talk about it in public. So that for me is already walking in the other direction.
Yeah.
In it. So
that's an interesting point. Why would you do something in private that's so powerful and not openly share it? And I think judgment is probably the first thing that comes as a complete mind read, would be judgment and fear of being labeled or pigeonholed, ridiculed, sniggered at, laughed at.
The thing is, if you look at the, I can't believe I can't find my tarot cards, but I've got so much stuff here. If you look at the hanged man, which is obviously is upside down, which is inverting your thinking, underneath is a well-worn path, which what that symbolizes is that you might think that inverting your thinking to the rest of the world is going to be very lonely. But what the well-worn path underneath the hanged man symbolizes is that there's millions of people been on the path before. There's millions of people on the path now. And there's millions of people that are going to be walking the path in the future. It's just that until you've become the hanged man, until you've inverted your thinking, you won't know who they are. And then you'll suddenly find there's a lot more people have inverted their thinking than you thought they had.
Yeah.
And you've got to, the important thing is to take that first step and go like, right, I'm not buying into the regular thinking of the world because it's not working. I'm going to turn it upside down, which is really what all of us do here. That's what we enable people to turn their thinking upside down.
And it's interesting. We're saying turn our thinking upside down, but I think deep down, and many people have that thinking but dismiss it because the crowd's heading that way.
Yep.
I think they're also waiting for permission. They're waiting for permission.
The the crowd's going that way, so that must be the right way. You know, it's Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when I talk about selling, I don't talk about selling. I just talk about, well, let's allow people to buy.
Yes.
Get out the way.
Inspired to buy. They're going to spend their money on something. That's what I say. You open up Instagram, it's everything that people purchase. They put it on. They love buying. They love it so much. They share all their happy purchases with everyone else.
I love spending money.
So yeah. That yeah.
And I love being sold to well.
I'm a buyer. I'm an easy yes. As soon as someone gets me, I find it, it's easy to say yes.
I think buying is probably my second most favorite thing I do.
And the first is selling.
No.
Gosh, it's what, 2:15 in the morning up there in the UK?
2:10.
10 past. Jeez.
So that mean, I know we started a bit late, so we've been going for 2 hours, right?
Yes.
Just checking now. We've been going for an hour and 45. So we appreciate you doing this through the night, David. I know that you are going to be joining us once more next week as well, next Friday.
Yeah, on the Huna.
You're going to be doing a bonus segment for everybody. But I would like to have everybody know now how to get in contact with you or Sally for the Gold Coast. There'll be a bunch of people watching this on Facebook and YouTube after we've run it live today. So we'd love for you to share with us how we can get in touch. Is it as simple as us passing them on if they contact us, or is there a place that they can go to get details from you and Sally?
I think you were talking to Sally about she's put a landing page together.
Oh, she has? Okay, yeah, we were talking about it. I wasn't sure if we'd gotten there fully yet, if she created the URL for the landing page or not. I'm sure by the time this is over, she'll be watching out there. So Sally, you're probably going to message me privately and say that you have done it. We will make sure that everybody knows where it is, and we'll pin it in the description of this. Once you're watching it on YouTube, we'll also pin it to the Facebook. And if you do have questions about it, you can contact Conor or I directly, and we can pass you on to David and Sally.
And I think next week, Cal, will be an amazing introduction. And I think the way it's designed, it will dovetail very nicely into Huna level 1 with David as well. And I think
will do. Totally, yeah.
We've got roughly 40, maybe 46
wow.
rolled for next week, which is
brilliant stuff. And is that online or is it physical?
That one's online, yeah.
Online,
right?
Yeah. Yours is going to be in person, which will be amazing on the Gold Coast.
Gold Coast will be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that time of year is perfect there as well.
Brilliant. So yeah, we can put links in. I've just been looking in the group, and I don't know if Sally's still there, but doesn't look like it.
We'll make sure it all shows up and everybody knows that.
Yeah.
If you are watching and you want access, please.
Sort it.
Here we go. I am here, guys.
I am here.
Is there anybody there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think
to show how off the cuff we do like to have these unplugged conversations.
Well, that's what Unplugged's about, isn't it, really?
It is. Yes.
I mean,
in fact, Sally was probably asleep, but she heard us talking about her.
Yeah, probably woke her up. We sent our energy down the Arca cord and went like,
oh. It's an absolute treat to have you here again, David. I
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Love it.
I know I probably hogged the microphone today over Connor. I'm very passionate about these conversations with the esoteric stuff.
Yeah,
in
this
particular.
is your sweet spot, Cal, and you're running 3 days of Huna next week, so it's this is one of your big passions in life.
Yeah,
So
and like I said to David, it's great to have, after Tad's passing, have another Kumu, have another mentor, another teacher in this space.
It's a honor and a privilege, mate.
Yeah. So
Really, it's and I say quite often, or very often actually, and I always pre-frame it with, I wish it wasn't true, but there's nobody been teaching and practicing timeline therapy on the planet longer than me. And I wish that wasn't true. And there's nobody been teaching Huna from my lineage on the planet today longer than me. So as I say, I wish it wasn't true, because that would mean that Tad was still around.
Yeah.
I do also feel that responsibility, if you like,
for sure.
to carry things on, because what Tad taught me, and Tad's friendship for me was and continues to be absolutely life changing.
Yeah.
He was a very, well, he still is a very dear friend of mine. For a while, was almost like a father figure for me, which was important to me. So I want to carry on the great work that he did.
Great work indeed.
Yeah.
We're excited that this conversation wouldn't be happening without Tad, and I think that
It wouldn't.
The
Quite
fact that there has been such a gap left here in Australia with Huna and with the other esoteric trainings, then you're the perfect person to begin to fill that spot, and we're looking forward to welcoming you down under and having you here, and looking forward to seeing some people go and dive into that, because it's going to help them in all areas of their life, business, relationships, family, so
it will be a deep dive. One of the things that I decided with all of our trainings, actually, with Sally, is that we're going to go old school. I think it just become a little bit watered down. I always remember the first level 2 we did out in Tenerife, and Sally went, "Have you got your slides?" I went, "No." And she goes, what are you talking about? I said, "Well, when I did level 2, there were no slides, because there was no PowerPoint." I said, "I'm doing this old school. I'm going to teach this like Tad taught me in 1994 or whatever." And we got people there who'd done APEP and done whatever with Tad, and they were just like, "Wow, this is." And so I went, right, that was the right decision.
Yeah. That's your point of difference, to be doing it in that same unique traditional way that Tad began it with, as it went from an oral tradition into what it now is, with a bit more structure.
I went to Tad, and I went to Uncle George, and I went to John Keith McCower, and I went, "Okay, I need your help. I want to do this like we used to do it." I know it sounds a little bit weird, but they were there. and the people in the room felt it as well. I was just like the channel, really, rather than the physical channel to bring that stuff in. So very humbling experience.
Gold
Beautiful.
Coast, end of October, early November.
Yep.
Wonderful, and we'll leave the details in the description. We'll make sure that we leave it in the Facebook chat of this post as well. Once we have it, and if you do want to just contact us directly and find out more information, you can do that. And for those of you who are attending on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week with our intro to Huna, we will be having David join us for a bonus segment where he will be able to share more of this amazing and insightful wisdom with you to help you create a bright future.
And I don't think that will be at midnight for me, will it?
No, it'll be in the morning.
I think it would be early morning. And for those who are attending next week as well, Sally messaged and said that there is going to be a special for those who want to go on and do the 5-day the Huna level 1. If you are there next week as well, to assist you to compound all the learnings.
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of possibilities for an extra session.
Oh, nice. Nice.
We'll let you know what that is. I think I know what I'm going to go for, but I need to chat that through with Sally first. But I think I know which one I'll go for, because it's a process that's not available online and not anywhere else. So I think I'll go for that.
Cool. We love it.
But we'll keep that.
David, you
Quite.
make 2 o'clock in the morning look good. You bring the energy no matter what time of day it is. So thank you so
Huna.
much. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, buddy. We really greatly appreciate it. And we know our audience does as well. And this is going to be going up on YouTube as quickly as we can get it up there. So we'll share the link with you. as well.
I'll share it everywhere. So as always do.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kallum.
Right.
Thank you, David.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, everybody.
Bye for now.
Oh, see you soon.
Hey guys, Kallum and Conor here from Connekt Coaching. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Unplugged podcast. We're jumping in to let you know about something really exciting. If you are a practitioner, a coach, or a trainer in the alternative therapy modality space, the Forever Client Matrix is something that we've modeled in the last 30 combined years, both Conor and my experience. And we've turned it into a 2-day intensive, and we want to give you a preview of that Forever Client Matrix. Absolutely. We want to make the bar for them to enter into that program very, very low and have them get incredible results.
I've sold about $40 million worth, and together we've sold about $100 million worth with our teams.
That's right. We believe that trust and reliability is the currency of the future. So if you want to turn every transaction to a transformational experience, if you want to turn every prospect into a forever client, then please click on the link below in the description and get instant access now to your preview of the Forever Client Matrix.
Enjoy.